Clark Gable, cinema idol of millions, bronzed and tough, is now an officer in the United States Army Air Corps.
Picture Hollywood's brightest stars lighting up the silver screen, suddenly leaving behind their fame to fight in World War II, what inspired them to abandon luxury for the dangers of war. Today, we'll explore the heroic stories of old Hollywood legends, whose real-life bravery eclipsed their on-screen roles. World War II wasn't just a war of soldiers, it was a global conflict that affected every aspect of life, including the glittering world of Hollywood. Many stars, at the peak of their careers, felt compelled to join the war effort. Instead of simply staying home and boosting morale through movies and war bond rallies, some Hollywood icons actively traded in their glamorous lives for combat roles in the military. Their participation wasn't just a matter of patriotism, but a demonstration of personal conviction. These celebrities exchanged their elegant wardrobes and luxurious lives for military uniforms, combat boots, and the constant threat of danger. So, who were the stars who left it all behind? Perhaps the most famous among them was Jimmy Stewart, an actor who had already made a name for himself before the war. Known for films like Mr. Smith Goes to Washington and The Philadelphia Story, Stewart was one of America's most beloved actors, but his heart was set on a different calling: flying. A lifelong aviation enthusiast, Stewart enlisted in the U.S. Army Air Corps even before the United States officially entered the war. He became a bomber pilot and completed numerous missions over Europe. For Stewart, leaving Hollywood wasn't just a patriotic duty, it was a family legacy. Coming from a line of military men, he felt it was his responsibility to serve. Similarly, Clark Gable, Hollywood's king, couldn't sit by while the world was at war. Gable was at the pinnacle of his fame, having starred in the blockbuster Gone with the Wind, when personal tragedy struck. His wife, actress Carole Lombard, was killed in a plane crash while returning from a war bond rally. Heartbroken and seeking a way to honor her memory, Gable enlisted in the U.S. Army Air Forces. He flew multiple combat missions over Nazi-occupied Europe as an aerial gunner, determined to contribute more than just his star power to the war effort. What were their career achievements before and during the war? These Hollywood stars didn't just enlist, they were already major players in the entertainment industry, achieving tremendous success before stepping away from the spotlight. Jimmy Stewart, who had already won an Academy Award by the time he enlisted, came from a prestigious military family. His transition from screen legend to military hero was seamless, while Stewart's aviation skills led him to become one of the most highly regarded pilots in the U.S. Air Corps. His Hollywood achievements never faded. After returning from the war, he starred in films like It's a Wonderful Life, which became an enduring classic. Clark Gable, who was considered the epitome of a leading man in Hollywood, could have remained in the comfort of his stardom. His performance in Gone with the Wind solidified him as a top box office draw, but that didn't stop him from risking his life in combat. Gable's military role wasn't for show. He saw real action. Despite being over 40 years old and a Hollywood powerhouse, Gable completed 5 combat missions in Europe. Although he didn't win any acting awards for his war service, his bravery earned him the respect of his peers and the public alike. Mel Brooks, before becoming a household name for his comedic genius, also had his own wartime experiences, serving as a combat engineer in Europe. Brooks participated in the infamous Battle of the Bulge. His job? Clearing minefields and building crucial infrastructure for Allied forces. Brooks later used his wartime experiences as material for his future career in comedy, proving that laughter can come from even the darkest moments in life. How did these actors blend Hollywood skills with military roles? Interestingly, Hollywood stars found ways to merge their entertainment talents with their military roles during the war. Take Hugh Hefner, for example. While serving as an infantry clerk, Hefner contributed cartoons and writings to military publications, foreshadowing his future as a media mogul. His knack for entertainment and satire, born during his military service, would later evolve into the creation of the Playboy Empire, which became synonymous with high-profile interviews, luxury, and cultural commentary. Similarly, after the war, Jimmy Stewart didn't just return to acting, he continued serving in the Air Force Reserve, eventually rising to the rank of Brigadier General. Stewart was one of the few actors who could successfully balance his dual roles, as both a military officer and a leading man in Hollywood. His experience in combat lent him a unique gravitas in films like The Glenn Miller Story and Strategic Air Command, where his real-life military background added authenticity to his performances. Other stars like Tony Bennett found fame after their military service. Bennett, who served in Europe during World War II, later became one of the world's most beloved singers. His time on the front lines informed his music, adding depth and emotion to his performances that resonated with post-war audiences. Like many veterans, Bennett channeled the lessons he learned from the war into his art, making his success all the more poignant. For Hollywood's elite, life before the war was a whirlwind of luxury, five-star hotels, designer clothing, and glittering premieres. But war brought a stark contrast. Gone were the lavish dinners and red carpet events, replaced by the grueling realities of combat. Clark Gable found himself in the middle of dangerous missions over Europe. His role as an aerial gunner placed him in harm's way, facing enemy fire and the very real possibility of death. How did Mel Brooks' experience as a combat engineer during World War II influence his unique approach to films? Mel Brooks, who later enjoyed the luxurious life of a Hollywood star, spent his wartime years in the mud and trenches of Europe. As a combat engineer, he wasn't shielded from the horrors of war. The experience toughened him, but it also gave him a deeper understanding of the absurdity of life, which he would later explore in films like The Producers and Blazing Saddles. For many Hollywood stars, their experiences during the war didn't just fade away when the conflict ended. Instead, those experiences fueled a lifelong commitment to philanthropy and community service. Jimmy Stewart was a prime example of this. After his military service, Stewart remained involved in veterans' organizations and used his platform to advocate for those who had served. His humility and dedication to helping others made him not just a beloved actor, but a respected figure in the veteran community. Marcel Marceau, the world-renowned mime, had a different type of wartime experience, yet one that was equally heroic. As part of the French Resistance, Marceau used his mime skills to help smuggle Jewish children across borders to safety. His solid performances weren't just for entertainment. They were a way of keeping frightened children calm during dangerous situations. After the war, Marceau continued to perform, dedicating his art to spreading messages of peace and hope, a testament to the resilience he developed during the war. Tony Bennett, too, channeled his war experiences into advocacy. A vocal supporter of civil rights and pacifism, Bennett used his fame to promote equality and justice. His haunting wartime memories fueled his commitment to fighting for a better, more just world, proving that the effects of war are long-lasting and often inspire a lifetime of giving back. What were the personal motivations and impact on their lives? The decision to enlist wasn't made lightly by these stars. For some, like Clark Gable, the motivation was deeply personal. The loss of his wife, Carol Lombard, in a plane crash while she was returning from a war bond rally, pushed him to join the military. Gable's enlistment was a way to honor her memory and contribute to the war effort in a tangible way. His grief became a driving force behind his decision to serve. For Jimmy Stewart, the motivation was more familial. Coming from a long line of military men, Stewart felt it was his duty to serve his country. Even though he was already a star, his upbringing instilled in him a sense of responsibility that went beyond his Hollywood career. His service during the war shaped the rest of his life, adding a layer of depth and introspection to his performances that audience could see on screen. Similarly, Mel Brooks was motivated by a sense of duty. As a Jewish man, fighting in Europe carried extra significance for him, knowing that the horrors of the Holocaust were unfolding as he served. His wartime experiences gave him a deeper appreciation for life, which later informed his comedic genius. He used his humor as a way to cope with the trauma of war, turning his pain into laughter for others. The contributions of old Hollywood stars during World War II revealed their humanity, courage, and selflessness. These actors set aside fame and fortune, stepping into real battles where the stakes were far greater than any role they played on screen. For many, the war became a defining period, shaping their identities both personally and professionally. Their bravery went beyond entertaining millions. They risked their lives for a greater cause. These stories remind us that behind the glamour of Hollywood lies a deep well of resilience, with their wartime experiences forever etched into their lives and legacies. If these stories of old Hollywood stars inspired you, share your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more incredible stories from Hollywood's golden age.